Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lora Rolling and this is part 3 of the Merry Christmas ornament tutorial. This is the Merry Christmas ornament that we are making. It is so cute. I love the little colorful lights on the top and on the bottom. And the unit that we're going to be making today is called Third Lowlights. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2 yet, that's okay. You can do these out of order. I'll have those 2 videos listed down below in the description. That way when you finish this one, you can go and watch those. We just have a few materials to get ready, so let's get them listed and then we can get started. Let's go. So the beads that we're going to be using in today's video are all Miyuki Delicas. I have opaque black, silver lined green, purple lined crystal, silver lined light blue, and dyed silver lined red. I'm just going to call these black, green, purple, blue, and red. We'll also need some beading thread and a beading needle. And I like to use the Eslon Fire in the color Crystal. This is 4-pound thread. You can also use a 6-pound thread if that's what you prefer. And then I like to use a size 10 beading needle. You could use a size 11 or a size 12. For implements, I like to use my long nose pliers to hold onto my thread at the end of the video. And to cut my thread, I use scissors. And then to end the tail today, in the beginning of the video, I'm going to show you how I use the fire method. So now all we need to do is thread our needle with 3 feet of thread, and then we can get started. So I have threaded my needle, and now I'm going to pick up my first 3 beads, which are all 3 black beads. Then I'm going to take these 3 beads and I'm going to pull them down to the bottom of my thread, leaving about a 6-inch tail. Now let's tie a square knot, which means we're going to cross over on top and then pull the tail through. And then we're going to do that again. We're going to cross over on top and pull the tail through. Sometimes are easier than others. Alrighty. So now you should have what looks like 2 little loops or a little snowman. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my 2 fingers in the lower loop, the one that has the beads on or in it. And then I'm going to pull on the tail and the long thread until that top loop turns into a knot. Just like that. Now we have our tail, and I'm not going to touch the flame to the thread. I'm just going to get it super close and it's going to melt the tip. Just like that. And it turns it into this little teensy knot. So what I'm going to do now is, keeping my 2 fingers in the loop, I'm going to tug on the long thread, twisting the loop with my fingers until that little knot meets the long thread. Now I'm going to take my thumbnail and I'm going to pull the long thread and pull that knot down to the 3 beads, which turns it into a little triangle. And that completes row number 1. So if you notice, the knot is kind of in the center of these 2 beads. So I'm going to take my long thread and I'm just going to tug the knot until it's looking like it's actually coming out of one of the beads. It also looks like that thread is coming out of that one bead also. So now let's pick up 2 more black beads. And it looks like our tail or our thread is coming out of this bead. So let's sew through the next bead, the one that it doesn't look like it's coming out of. And then we're going to try to position our beads so that they look like they're sitting right on top of the other beads. Just like that. Now let's pick up 2 more black beads. And our thread is coming out of this bead. Let's sew through the next bead. And once again, trying to get our beads to sit right on top of those 2 beads that they're closest to. I like to call those their buddy beads. So they're sitting right on top of their buddies. Okay, let's pick up 2 more black beads. We're coming out of this bead. Let's sew through the next. And this time we're going to sew through the one that's right below it too. When we sew through 2 beads, that is what we're doing is we're stepping up so that our thread is in position to start the next row. So that means that we've completed row number 2, and this is what it should look like now. So now let's pick up 2 more beads. This time it's going to be 1 black and 1 blue bead. And we're coming out of this bead, so let's sew through the next. Now let's pick up 1 black bead. And our thread is coming out of this bead right here. We're going to skip the bead that's set downward. We're going to sew through the bead that is poking up, and I'm going to refer to that as our up bead. Now let's pick up 2 green beads. Coming out of this bead, let's sew through the next. Now let's pick up 1 black bead. We're going to skip the down bead and sew through the up bead. Let's pick up 2 black beads and sew through the next. Now let's pick up 1 black bead. This is the last bead in this row. We're going to skip the down bead and sew through the up bead, and then we're also going to sew through the bead right below it. So we're stepping up by sewing through 2 beads this time, completing row 3, and now we get to start row number 4. Let's start by picking up 1 black bead and 1 blue bead and sew through the next. Now let's pick up 1 blue bead and sew through the up bead, and we'll pick up 1 green bead and sew through the up bead. Let's pick up 2 black beads this time and sew through the next. Always making sure those beads sit right on top of their buddies. And we'll pick up 1 green and sew through the up bead. Let's pick up 1 black and sew through the up bead. Two black and sew through the next. One black and sew through the up bead, and one black bead and sew through the up bead and the bead right below it. So this completes row number 4. Let's start row number 5 by picking up 2 black beads, then 1 blue, one green, one black, two black beads, one black, one black, one black, two black beads, one black, one black, and one black. Sewing through the last 2 beads, and now we get to start row number 6. Let's start with 2 black beads, one blue, one blue, one black, one black, two black beads, one black, one purple, one black, one black, two black beads, one black, one black, one black, one black, and sew through the last 2 beads. And now we get to start row number 7. Let's start with 2 black beads, one black, one blue, one black, one black, 1 black, 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 purple, 1 purple, 1 black, 1 black, 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, and 1 black. Sewing through the last 2 beads. And now we get to start row number 8. Let's start with 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 green, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 black, 1 purple, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, and 1 black. Sewing through the last 2 beads. And now we can start row number 9. Let's start with 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 green, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 2 black beads, these don't want to sit where they are supposed to. There we go. 1 black, 1 black, 1 purple, 1 purple, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, and 1 black. Sewing through 2 beads, and now we can start row number 10. Let's start with 2 black beads, 1 black, 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 2 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 purple, 1 green, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 2 black beads, 1 black, 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 and 1 black. Sewing through the last 2 beads, and now we get to start row 11. Let's start with 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 black, 1 green, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 green, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 2 black beads, 1 black, 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 and 1 black. Sewing through the last 2 beads in this row. And now we get to start row number 12. Let's start with 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 black, 1 green, 1 black, 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 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 green, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 red, 1 black, 1 black, and 1 black. Sewing through the last 2 beads in this row, and that completes our 12 rows for our triangle, for our unit. If this is the first unit that you've done with me, you'll notice that I add connecting beads to some of the sides, and then other sides don't have connecting beads added to. And that is so that we can connect our units together and form our ornament. So this particular unit is going to have, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cap this corner. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take 1 black bead and we're going to sew it down the next bead so that it turns this corner into a little point. Now, this side is not going to have connection beads. We are going to have a point here and a point here, but this one is going to have connection beads. This one, the top, is not going to have connection beads. So in order to get our thread from here to here, what I like to do is turn my unit over, and then without picking up any beads, I'm going to sew through 1 bead at a time, and we're going to pick 1 bead per row. And I just like to follow this quadrant line right here, so I'm going to sew through all of these beads, but you don't have to. As long as you are hiding your thread and you know, inside the beads, picking 1 bead per row, and you end up in this bead right here, then that's the goal. So while I'm sewing up and while you're sewing up each bead, I'm going to ask you the question of the day. So the question of the day is, do you think that when I'm calling out the letters, or not the letters, the colors of each bead, that I sound like a robot? Do you think so? Because I tend to stop myself, you know, while I'm doing it and think, oh my gosh, I sound like such a robot. I promise I am not AI. I am a real life person. And I can prove that by my Facebook, basically. And you'll find down in the description that I have a link to my Facebook profile. So if you ever want to come and hang out with me there, or, you know, just kind of look and see that I really am a real person, then that is how I prove it right there. I don't post like constantly, just really when I have things going on. And I don't post a lot of my beading projects. Instead, I like to post those in the beading groups and stuff like that. So that might be where you found me. Let me know if you found me in a beading group. So, alrighty, so I have reached the top of my corner here. So coming out of this bead, what we're going to do next is I'm going to add one black bead to cap this corner and turn it into a point. And now we can start adding beads up along this side. They're all black beads, but I'm going to call them out for you. One black, 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 and one black. Now we just have to cap this third corner with one black bead, turning it into a little point. Now all of our corners are points. Now we want to secure this bead that we just added by sewing up 6 beads. We're not picking up any more beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now I'm going to do what I call a zigzag. We're coming out of the top of this bead, so I'm going to sew down the bead right next to it. And then I'm going to sew up the bead right next to that one. And that zigzags our thread and makes this bead a little more secure. Let's now sew up 2 beads, 1 and 2, or 2 rows, right? And now we can zigzag again. We're coming out of the top of this bead. Let's sew down the bead right next to it. And then sew up the bead right next to that one. And now I know that this bead is extra secure. It's not going to move or get loose. So let's just sew up 2 more beads. 1 and 2. And now I feel like we can cut our thread. So picking up our thread with our long nose pliers and getting our scissors as close to the bead as possible without cutting the bead. Just snip off that thread. And now we have completed our unit called third low lights. We only need 1 of these for the project, so I will see you in a second. That was so much fun. Thank you so much for being here with me today and beading along with me. Remember to like and subscribe and hit that bell button so you're notified when the next video comes out. I can't wait to see you there. Thanks for watching.